Have you ever heard of Medjugorje? This small village in Bosnia-Herzegovina has become one of the most discussed and visited spiritual centers in the world. But today, we're not just here to tell you the story of a pilgrimage site. We're here to share a message that has shaken the foundations of the believing community and beyond. Mirjana, one of the visionaries of Medjugorje, has issued an alarm that almost sounds like an omen. The end is near. But what does it really mean? And why should it matter to you, regardless of your beliefs? Before we dive into this extraordinary story, a quick reminder. If you want to continue discovering stories that might change the way you see the world, make sure to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Don't miss the next adventures in the heart of the inexplicable and the incredible. Medjugorje, a small village in Bosnia-Herzegovina, rose to international prominence in the 1980s, thanks to a series of alleged Marian apparitions. Since then, it has become an important pilgrimage site for millions of Catholic faithful and curious people from all over the world. Among the witnesses of these extraordinary events, Mirjana Soldo holds a prominent place. She is one of the 6 people who claim to have had direct encounters with the Virgin Mary, during which they would have received messages intended for humanity. The latest message transmitted by Mirjana, however, stands out for its decidedly more urgent tone compared to previous ones. She talks about premonitory signs and imminent events that should serve as a wake-up call for humanity, emphasizing the crucial importance of change, both on a personal and collective level. This message is not just an invitation to spiritual conversion, but also a call to individual and collective responsibility towards the world around us. Mirjana's message prompts deep reflection on our lifestyle and the daily choices we make, highlighting how these latter have a direct impact not only on our lives, but also on the planet. In an era characterized by unprecedented environmental challenges, global conflicts, and growing inequality, Mirjana's words assume a particular resonance. Her call to action transcends the boundaries of religion, addressing everyone concerned about the future of humanity and the natural world. This urgency for change, according to Mirjana, should not be ignored or underestimated. It invites us to question the sustainability of our consumption habits, our commitment to social justice, and our contribution to environmental conservation. In this sense, her message is a call to radically review our approach to the world, promoting greater awareness and concrete action. Faced with these statements, the question arises: is Mirjana just another figure in a long history of visionaries predicting imminent disasters? Or does her message have a more solid and universal foundation? The answer to this question is not simple and requires careful analysis, not only of the content of her messages, but also of the broader context in which they are spoken. Exploring Mirjana's message, therefore, means not stopping at the surface of her words, but seeking to understand their deeper meaning and their relevance for our time. It's an invitation to reflect on our ability to listen and act in response to the signs of the times, regardless of our faith or creed. Ultimately, the evaluation of these words and the decision to act accordingly are up to each of us, with the awareness that the choices we make today will determine the world of tomorrow. What do you think of Mirjana's message? Is it a spiritual appeal that should be listened to and meditated upon? Or do you see it as yet another attempt to draw attention to Medjugorje? Share your opinion in the comments by writing Maria, the invitation to investigate beyond appearances and to critically evaluate the messages of visionaries like Mirjana's raises important questions about the nature of prophecy, the interpretability of spiritual messages, and individual responsibility in assimilating such communications. In this context, the analysis is articulated in three main aspects: the historicity of visionaries, the essence of Mirjana's message, and the importance of critical discernment. Visionaries announcing imminent catastrophes are not a new phenomenon. History is dotted with figures who have claimed to receive divine or otherworldly messages, many of which foretold apocalyptic events or radical transformations of humanity. These figures range from biblical prophets to modern seers, and their influence varies greatly based on the cultural, historical, and religious context in which they emerge. Evaluating these visionaries requires examining their prophecies in light of history. Some of these predictions have proven surprisingly prescient, while others have never materialized. It's also important to consider the context in which these prophecies were made. Often, they reflect the fears, hopes, and tensions of specific historical periods. To understand Mirjana's message, it's essential to examine its content, context, and mode of communication. Like many visionaries, Mirjana's message might be rooted in a religious or spiritual context that calls for conversion, moral reform, or spiritual awakening. These messages often emphasize the importance of love, peace, prayer, and penance, proposing a path to avoid or mitigate the predicted catastrophes. Analyzing Mirjana's message also involves considering its reception. How has it been received by her followers, the religious community, and society at large? Is there internal consistency in her message? And how does it compare with the prophecies of other visionaries? The task of digging beyond the surface entails the exercise of critical discernment. Each individual faced with such messages is called to evaluate sources, reflect on the plausibility and relevance of the messages, and consider their own beliefs and values. This process requires an open mind, but also healthy skepticism, avoiding uncritically accepting any message or, conversely, prejudicially dismissing it. Critical discernment includes analyzing the evidence supporting the prophecies, the consistency of the message with universal ethical and spiritual values, and the impact of the message on people's lives. It's also important to consider the potential of such messages to inspire positive actions, like increasing social or environmental awareness. In evaluating messages like Mirjana's, we find ourselves at a crossroads between credulity and skepticism. The challenge is to maintain an open but critical mind, allowing us to discern what may have authentic and transformative value. Ultimately, how much weight to give these words is deeply personal and reflects our individual context, experiences, and values. Française. Avez-vous déjà entendu parler de Medjugorje? Ce petit village en Bosnie-Herzégovine est devenu l'un des centres spirituels les plus discutés et visités au monde. Mais aujourd'hui, nous ne sommes pas là juste pour vous raconter l'histoire d'un lieu de pèlerinage. Nous sommes ici pour partager un message qui a ébranlé les fondations de la communauté croyante et au-delà. Mirjana, l'une des visionnaires de Medjugorje, a lancé une alerte qui sonne presque comme un présage. La fin est proche. Mais qu'est-ce que cela signifie réellement? Et pourquoi cela devrait-il vous importer, quelles que soient vos croyances? Avant de plonger dans cette histoire extraordinaire, un rapide rappel. Si vous souhaitez continuer à découvrir des histoires qui pourraient changer votre façon de voir le monde, assurez-vous de vous abonner à la chaîne et d'activer les notifications. Ne manquez pas les prochaines aventures au cœur de l'inexplicable et de l'incroyable.